Hi everybody, welcome back to A Storyteller's Night. My name is Josh and I'm here joined by my co-host as always, Nathan.
Hello.
And how have you been this week, Nath? Or the week before? How have you been?
Last week not too bad because obviously week off work, so that's quite good. But a lot of it just sitting around the house, doing videos, tidying up, the usual stuff. Took my parents down to Southampton to catch their cruise. So I've got my mum's car at the moment, which I can't fault because it's brand new 2025. So it's a really, really brand new car. So I'm driving that for the next week until I pick them up, and it's back to work today. So back to it. But next Monday is a bank holiday, and then in like 3 weeks it'll be a week off, and then another like 5 weeks, and it'll be summer. So lots of time off coming up soon. So not too bad. How have you been?
I've not been too bad. I've been doing a lot of good college work recently, like really ridiculously detailed college work. I've been hating the sun. I don't do well with the sun,
No, I don't.
and I'm sorted out my fishing set and golf clubs, which I'm happy about. So I'll be fishing and golfing a lot during the summer, hopefully.
Golfing. This reminds me of the bloody video game we were playing and how good you are at that. Because obviously I was streaming it last night on Twitch, and then oh my god.
Yeah, I remember I bigged myself up so much because I'm actually really good in real life. Got to the game, I rage quit.
It's the time I've ever seen you rage quit, and it was hilarious. Oh my god, it was so good. It was good watching some of those old bits again. It was just like, oh my god, and you kept just messing up, and then the course that you made as well, that was just bizarre.
Bizarre, yeah, absolutely nuts. I'll give myself credit where it's due. I've gotten better at golf on gaming, in gaming, should I say? But still, nothing compares to me bigging myself up and then I fall flat on my face.
You always do that, don't you? You have a habit of like trying to big yourself up and then you fall flat on your face. It's like Destiny. Oh, be careful of this strike. It's really difficult. The first thing you do is get murdered by the bloody drop pod. That was hilarious.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, God.
Now that we've caught up a bit, let's get right onto this evening's topic.
Okie dokie.
The beauty of our planet and what we are doing to it and what Mother Nature is doing.
Ooh, deep one today.
I am bringing this up because as of recently, our home country, Wales, and Scotland are having wildfires, which is unheard of in the UK. And it's just made me think over the past, I'd say, decade, the amount of natural disasters we've had compared to wars is dramatic. Mother Nature, I feel like, is trying to give her the word or a warning. And besides all that, we've got a very beautiful planet that we're slowly destroying. So what are your takes on the past decade when it comes to Mother Nature, mate?
Complicated one. So it depends how you look at Mother Nature. Do you look at Mother Nature as a kind of entity like Gaia, that type of thing that's, it's Mother Earth, it's almost like an entity in itself, or is nature just natural processes that just happen? So it's not causal in that way. It's not, I don't want to say an intelligence because it's not really what Gaia would be, but it's not a kind of entity or something.
It's not a sentient being.
Something. No, but it's not something that's interconnected that much. Gaia would be kind of all of nature around the world is interconnected, and you do one thing one place and it might have a cause and effect somewhere else. I don't kind of look at that. Nature is I think it's very independent in the different ecosystems. So it's quite difficult to say sort of what we're doing to the planet affects in different areas, because quite often it seems to be we're affecting it in one place, but it's having repercussions somewhere else because of weather systems and depleted ozone and all that kind of thing. So I must admit, I didn't know about any wildfires in Wales, but then I never watched the news at all. I absolutely avoid the news of any kind if I can help it.
Yeah, the wildfires, they were, there was a little bit in Anglesey, and the others were taking place middle north area of Wales.
That'd be why then. We never hear about North Wales down here because they don't like us to know anything about North Wales. It's all South Wales and nothing else.
I can humbly agree, and this is no offence, but North Walians really do not like South Walians. But I find that topic completely irresponsible. It's just not needed.
It's what annoys me about human nature. You see all the time, especially like in America at the moment. It's so much get the immigrants out, and it's like it in this country, and it just really annoys me. It's one of the things, going completely kind of off tangent, is why Star Trek works like it does, and why they seem to have all of humanity as one, because they found someone else to have a go at. Oh, look, Klingons. They're not from this planet, so have a go at them. Because it's very much, on this planet, people are idiots. It's like, you're not from my town, I don't like you. You don't support the same team, I don't like you. You're not from my country, I don't like you. Well,
which is
until we get it, you're not from my planet, we're not going to be united.
This is what I was about to say, sorry, before cutting you earlier. Mother Nature, I wouldn't say Mother Nature in sense, I'd say planet Earth sees us as a quote-unquote immigrant as well. Because me and my dad, we always say, and I will say it now, that the human race, we are our own plague. We are the Earth's plague. We're slowly hacking away at our planet.
Virus on the surface of the planet.
My dad strongly believes there's intergalactic species, and I will say this now: anyone that's out there on planet Earth that thinks there's nothing else out there in the space, vacuum of space, you're an idiot. If we're here, there's something else out there.
Well, this is the thing, is the whole thing, if you're going to talk about nature and all that kind of thing and other planets, then it comes to people's beliefs and what science and technology is, and physics and so on. Because then you get to the whole flat Earth. Because this is the thing, then you look at things like, we look at global warming, you look at depleted ozone, you look at the things we're doing to our planet. That only makes sense when you have the planet as a globe. When you have it as a flat disk with a stupid dome over the top of it, global warming and all the other things we've done to our planet can't exist.
Exactly.
And that's the biggest problem we've got at the moment. It's like we're going backwards in time. Years ago, people thought the Earth was flat until they sailed to America, and they proved that you could go across the other side and you didn't just fall off the planet. But we've got all of that. We've got pictures from space. We've got everything else. And yet there's growing number of people, Americans more than not, to be perfectly honest, that believe the Earth is flat, and they just think everything is conspiracy. It's like, oh, those meteors, that's not real. Well, you're seeing it with your eyes, mate, so of course it's real. They're not faking that just to annoy you. Like, what are you on about?
No, and with all of this earthquake in Turkey that happened, a lot of flat earthers, when they think the world's flat, how had they say that when there's continental drift?
Yeah.
If there was no continental drift, there would be no earthquakes. There would be no volcanoes, volcano eruptions.
If they don't exist, you can't have earthquakes. So why do we have volcanoes? What's a volcano worth on a flat Earth? How does that work? It's the molten core of the planet.
Mountain. Yeah, it might be a mountain to them, but it isn't.
Yeah, but when it erupts, where's that molten lava coming from? Because I don't understand the whole flat Earth theory for that. It's like they reckon that the world is flat, but there's an ice wall around it, so you can't go past it. Like, fly over the top of it then. Like, what? So stupid.
So with that being said, with the thought process of flat earthers, because I don't really want to touch on that, because that can be a whole episode in itself.
A whole other can of beans in it, let's be honest.
We do not want to open that box at all. And besides, I think we kind of respectfully slag off Americans a little bit too much recently.
Well,
Behind
at
the scenes as
moment,
well.
let's be honest,
Yeah,
a
it's
lot of them
deserved.
deserve it.
It's
Not all of
deserved.
them. I know some wonderful Americans that didn't
Yeah,
vote for
likewise.
the orange murderer, but I know quite a few that didn't. So it's not all of them, but there is a huge number of them. And once again, it's about racism, and that's what a lot of it is. Same in this country when you look at Nigel Farage and people like that. It's the same kind of mentality. Oh, get all the immigrants out. They're taking our jobs. No, they're not.
So
nonsense.
let's get one question out of the way.
Okay.
And I do occasionally hear this question, and I do see it come up on news articles a fair bit. And it's more of a sense of what if, not it's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
What if the world's crust and core is its own entity? What if the core of planet Earth is its heartbeat? And every time a human or a company digs a drill too hard on a specific vein on planet Earth, that being like a giant cave of concealed gas, and Mother Nature, the planet, the Earth, reacts with an earthquake, a volcano, or a tsunami, or a tornado, etc. Do you think that's the Earth trying to give us a warning, or do you think that's the Earth just getting agitated and trying to fend off like white blood cells?
I don't think it's any of that. Honestly,
then what's your take on it?
It's just natural processes.
Okay.
Because of the way the Earth is comprised of different materials, tectonic plates, and everything else underneath the surface. There's all different materials there, and gases, and fossils, and coal, and diamonds, and minerals, and everything else. There are pockets of gas. Natural gas is what we use, in kitchens and all over the place. Natural gas is a huge resource, but that's a pocket. If you then take all that gas out, or do something that causes it to ignite or anything else, then you're going to get problems, and you're going to get shifting, and you're going to get sinkholes, and all of that kind of thing. And there's so much that can go wrong when you're doing that. It's like that. I can't remember where it is. It's that one place in America that's been on fire for the past 20, 30 years because they had an accident there. It was like, I think it was like coal mines for fracking and stuff, and the coal has caught fire under the earth, and people just can't live there because it's still on fire, and it will continue to be on fire. That's not the earth getting angry. That's a chemical process happening. Just the same as with the human body. White blood cells and so on aren't sentient at all. They just do what the chemical processes within them do. The same as viruses and so on. They're not looking around for something. They're just doing what naturally those organisms do. So it's just one of the things I just don't see sort of the Earth as an entity. It is a big lump of rock floating through space at quite an incredible speed, and there's lots of different things happening, thermodynamics and all different chemical processes and moves of different rocks and liquids and everything else. It's all of that. We do have to be careful what we do, because you dig too far, you open up the wrong pocket of gas somewhere, or some lava or something else, and you can cause major problems. And yeah, that happens. The trouble is, the more we do that and release gas, and we accidentally set off volcanoes, for instance, or something like that, we're getting more methane and carbon dioxide and other things in the atmosphere, which then cause all the greenhouse gases. Means we retain more heat. We get all the planet warming up, and it's then kind of snowballing effect, and one thing will lead into another. If the world is getting hotter, then yeah, we will get more forest fires. America had some awful ones not long ago. Really bad ones in California. But is that because the world is getting warmer? But then you think the world's getting warmer, we should also have more rain. Because the world's getting warmer, more water is going to evaporate, which will go into the sky as clouds. The clouds will block the sun a certain amount, which will make it cooler. And when it gets cooler, it'll rain again. So it's, how does that work? is it the world's getting warmer, or are we just transitioning from different phases? You look throughout the world's history, we've had ice ages and so on, and tropical ages and all that kind of thing, where the planet has been at different temperatures, it's been more tropical, there's been ice ages and so on. Are we just transitioning to the next phase in the planet's history?
I think we are. I generally think, because there's this guy that I watch on YouTube, I don't remember what he's called, but his video has a couple billion views, and it's the history of the world, I guess.
Mm.
And it's a quick, like, snap animation of him just narrating as snappy as the animation. And he shows through the animation the history of the evolution of the planet growing with the bacteria, and how the bacteria slowly grows to become dinosaurs, and then asteroid hits, bacteria starts again, humans in the pre-ape evolution. So with that, he ends up proving a point to a lot of flat earthers, a lot of humans who don't know much about how the world deals with itself. He says in a separate video that it's basically when when the world has an ice age, a scorched earth, a tropical, like you said, or a flooding, or fire rain, etc., it's because it's a world reset. The world thinks it needs to shed its skin and make a new body. And it does one of those things like a worldwide natural disaster to reset itself.
But that's going into the realms of it being a sentient being, or a god is controlling it. So you say, a big reset, Noah's flood. That's a big worldly reset. Is that in the book based on an actual events that people spoke about for years? Because we look at any kind of world history, and a lot of it, even if it's written down, it's word of mouth. Oh, somebody, Joe down the road told me about this happened the other day, and then it gets put down as history. But you look, all different cultures have a lot of similar kind of philosophies of what's happened previously, although there's lots of different gods and so on. There's a lot of natural disasters and things that have happened in
I love Noah's Ark. I love the story, but I'm sorry to offend Christianity just a little bit, but I generally think either about 60 to 70% of the Bible is either overly exaggerated or it's just utter nonsense. But I know that some stories in there are absolutely true, because there's proof, there's world engravings of proof of it.
Yeah, which which a lot of books and a lot of fairy tales and folklore is based on things that actually have happened. Like, I've read the Bible many times. I used to actually go to Bible studies and that sort of thing. Because when my friend was suffering with cancer, she was actually a Jehovah's Witness. So I joined up with some local Jehovah's Witnesses in Cardiff, and I actually started to do Bible studies. I used to go along to their meetings and like their halls and that sort of thing, just to learn more about her religion, to try and help her through what she was going through. Because obviously there's a lot of different ways people deal with death and any afterlife, or if you get buried, cremated, and there's very strong beliefs within that religion of what happens to your body when you die. They're more the feeling you don't cremate the body, you bury the body, because when Jesus comes back and takes people onto what's next, you will need your body again. So bodies are buried, because then it'll be you'll rise just as Christ did. So there's a lot of that kind of thing, and it's interesting to see the different ways people have interpreted the same text in different ways, often to suit their own needs. You look at a lot of the translations of the Bible, and it's incorrectly translated. You look at things like one of the most famous ones, Virgin Mary. You look back into the history of the Bible and more of the sort of original languages of it, and it's the way it's translated. When you have the word like young, because she was very young, and the word virgin are similar, but they have different connotations. Saying that she was young and married and had a child, that makes a lot more sense. I can't imagine she was married, but she was still a virgin, yet traveling for, quite a while with her husband. Like, what culture are they in that they got married but didn't consummate the marriage? I
Yeah.
don't understand. That's one of those bits that kind of makes me think that doesn't actually make a lot of sense, especially when you look in the past. There's certain points in history where being pure and so on before marriage was expected. Look, not even that far back in our own history, the country we're in, that was expected years ago. These days, not so much. But look, 30, 40 years ago, and it was more expected then to be pure before you got married. But you look all the way back to the time of Jesus and that sort of thing, that would be 100% expected, because that's the kind of culture. So why would she get married at a young age? Because they would have got married at a young age because people died at a young age. If your life expectancy is only like 30 or something, or 25, then yeah, people are going to get married at the age of 13 or something like that, because that's what people did at the time. Because once a girl became of childbearing age, then that's when they'd get married.
Yeah,
so that could have been like 12, 13 years of age. So saying that she was young, that makes sense. Saying that she was then a virgin, it's like, it doesn't work. And things like you look at, I was going to go Moses and things like that, the parting of the Red Sea.
The Red Sea.
You look at the translation, it's not the Red Sea. It's the Reed Sea.
But the thing is, when we go back to Noah's Ark or Moses and the Red Sea, I'll start off with Moses because I feel like that's the easiest one to get past, and then we'll go to Noah's Ark quickly after. But the Red Sea, I believe in God. I just don't believe in Jesus. God can control things, but when it comes to the world, I don't think he can have input, because it takes the world itself and the moon to move this water. And the fact that a mere mortal that all of a sudden has the ability to speak to God and be able to move water just doesn't make sense.
But this is where we get to the translation, though. This is where we get to the mistranslations. You look at, there is history of like Ramesses and that sort of thing, which are around at that sort of time. Moses was actually, I think, like brother of the Pharaoh or something like that. He was actually a royal blood, and he started a rebellion with the slaves against his family, and they were chasing him down with chariots and so on, and they hid in the Reed Sea. And it's a field full of like really tall reeds and that sort of thing. And he ambushed and murdered his brother. And that's what that's about. It's not about imparting great waves. No, it was using the Reed Sea to ambush the people that were trying to kill him. That's what that's about. But that's, once again, it's not only mistranslations, but if you win, you get to write the history. Yeah. And then the next person writes slightly differently. But a lot of the time, people didn't necessarily read and write so much back in those days. So a lot of
it was royalty. It was only royalty, no peasantry or anything or common working. Exactly. It was all royalty that was able to read and write.
Tend to be passed down by the average person, and the wise person of the village, and that sort of thing. And the stories will be passed down generation by generation. And as we know with anything, if you tell a story, you'll embellish it slightly alter it. You misremember things and tell it slightly differently. And that's how things change throughout the years, which is fine. But for me, the Bible is a good book. Some of it is well written, but it's a book of morality tales. It's not a true history.
I enjoy the book. I've read it. I've read it fully twice, I believe, in my life. I've read it from first page to last twice, and I've enjoyed it. Just some parts I've enjoyed it, I disagree with.
It's a morality tale. It's not a thing to set your life and do word for word what it says, because people don't. These days, people do not read it word for word because it doesn't make sense in today's world. And a lot of things it says, people take... This is what my biggest problem with religion. People take the little bits that they like and ignore the rest.
Yes.
You can't persecute somebody for something and yet do something else yourself that the Bible says not to do. And this is the problem with it. It's why I don't really believe in a god or gods, because there's too many things that happen in the natural world. If there was a god, these things wouldn't be put in place.
Be happening.
No, 100%.
Yeah, agreed. But of which we're covering more religion than we are planet.
Yeah, we don't want to go down that, because I could really reel off a lot on that, because I have many thoughts of it, having looked at many religions over the years. I have nothing
let's-
against religions. I personally don't need it.
Okay, I agree there. So let's get back on track and let's start off with a little breaking, a little new coming thing for our podcast. And I would like to say this is a little back and forth of list.
Right. Okay.
We are going to go one for one. It's small, but it's a good way to start something like this, in my opinion.
Okay.
We go back and forth stating the 7 wonders of the world, where they are, what is the wonder, and a rough estimate of the year it is predicted to be a wonder.
Right.
You're more than welcome to start off. So, what's the wonder? Where is it? And what year is it presumed to be for its location and time?
This is the thing, because it all depends what you mean by wonders. You mean the official 7 wonders of the world that
The
are
official
written
7,
everywhere, and
the official 7 wonders of the world.
I wouldn't have a clue. I'd need to look into it because I don't even know.
All right. Then we won't do that little back and forth. I'll just state them and you give your thoughts. So you've got the Giza pyramids in Egypt, which is 2560 BC.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the Great Wall of China in China, predicted to be 700 BC.
Yeah.
Petra in Amman, Jordan, in prediction of 312 BC. The Colosseum in Rome, Italy, prediction 80 AD. The Chichen Itza, Yucatan, Mexico, in prediction of 600 AD. The Machu Picchu, Cuzco region of Peru, in prediction of 1450 AD. Sorry. The Taj Mahal, Agra, India, in prediction of 1643 AD. And finally, Christ the Redeemer, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, in prediction 1931 AD.
Mm-hmm.
On that list, I know all of them because these were my fascinating at a very young age. But just off the top of your head, out of the 7, how many do you know?
I've known of all of them.
Okay.
It's not something I don't have. It's one of those things. I think they're quite fascinating, quite interesting, but for what they are. But it's not necessarily something I'm that interested in because I'm kind of more into like different things to that, like natural wonders of the world. I quite like rather than just man-made ones because you get the trouble when people are then trying to outdo it and do something better. And things like the pyramids, you can't really enjoy them the way you used to. You're not allowed to walk on them and so on because too many people have and it's eroding them. I'm more interested in why rather than what it is, and the how, because still pyramids are one of those. Who built them? It wasn't aliens. It was people who built it, and there's many ways they could have built them. But it's still quite fascinating when you look at all the different things about it, like the position of them, and how they line up perfectly to stars, and how they face certain directions on the compass, and all of this kind of thing is amazing for the time they were built. Because there is a lot about the tips of them used to be covered in like metal, and they conduct electricity. A lot of that kind of thing as well. That we don't necessarily know if it was, what was it used for, why did they do it, why is it not? There's a lot of that kind of thing with the pyramids in particular. The Great Wall of China is the wall. As long as you don't believe the stupid movie that came out a few years ago. God, that was awful with the like weird monsters and stuff. That was stupid.
Oh, the Great Wall.
That was such an awful movie. But that's quite true. Taj Mahal is a palace. It's okay. It's it's quite pretty. I don't have that much interest in a lot of buildings that I don't have.
Then let's go more down the world route. So, like the Grand Canyon. How is the Grand Canyon a thing? Or the Yellowstone National Park?
Yellowstone is something I'd quite like to see because there's some interesting things there, and it's once again it's the natural wonders that I quite like. Like the Grand Canyon, would be quite interesting seeing how that's been cut into stone by rivers over thousands of years, and the rivers are almost dried up. There's only there are still rivers at the bottom of it, but nothing compared to what it would have been. And it's amazing seeing that process. And I used to study
It's a
geography in
nice,
school, so it's seeing
it's a
that.
nice decay and erosion process. I
Yeah,
think, what is it? The stones
yeah,
are dated back to when just before the asteroid hit. Apparently, last time I looked, it was just before the asteroid. That was the original stone. But whilst we're on the topic of volcanoes, I just want to talk about Yellowstone, the volcano. I forgot what it's called.
Mount St. Helen.
Mount St. Helen, yes. That is. It is.
If that erupts, then that's going to be
the world's done, because it is officially, as of like a couple of years ago now, 10,000 years overdue with an eruption. It had a slight eruption. We all know this by now.
Yeah.
But that was because there was a little eruption inside of the volcano, not the bottom where it pushes all the lava out and causes the tip to explode. It was in the middle, like an air bubble, and it just caused the side of the volcano to fall. If it actually erupted today, that is a global reset of the world. Immediately, the whole world's gone. That's fact. That isn't fake or anything. The whole world should know this, because there's been documentaries, there's been scientific recordings on it. It's just, I think if it explodes, it wouldn't necessarily be, it would be a bad thing. Definitely a bad thing. But I think the planet's long overdue a natural reset, because I don't remember the most recent natural reset after the dinosaurs were wiped, because that wasn't natural.
Yeah.
Since the dinosaurs being wiped out because of the asteroid, there hasn't been a natural world reset event. And I generally think the closest we've gotten is
it won't necessarily be. Nobody knows exactly the impact. It'll obviously wipe out all of North America and a lot more, but it depends how bad the eruption is, because nobody will actually know exactly what would happen. It wouldn't necessarily engulf the entire world immediately. Things would take a little bit of time.
It would take a slow process, but it will affect long term. It will be a long term effect.
It'll be long term. But how much ash is generated and at what speed and that sort of thing depends on the eruption. Until it happened, nobody could tell for sure exactly how much. So it wouldn't necessarily be an entire global thing like the extinction of the dinosaurs. It's not necessarily an extinction event. It could be, but it isn't necessarily. If it erupted, then it could take most of the world, and it could cause havoc for thousands of years. But it wouldn't necessarily be an extinction level event necessarily.
There's one in the Philippines as well, and one in Iceland. Just like the Yellowstone National Park, I think this is actually the top three. The one in Iceland and there's one in the Philippines. They are long overdue as well, and they're active volcanoes. They're pumping up, ready to go, unlike Yellowstone, which is just dormant at the moment, but waiting to become active. If one of those two go, this is science again. If Iceland happens, all of Europe's gone. It's getting engulfed, and North Africa and West Russia are going to struggle because of it. If the Philippines one went, everything down to the bottom of New Zealand all the way to South Korea is a black zone, and it's just going to be full of ash, because the one in the Philippines is an ash volcano. All it is a volcano. There's barely any rock unless you go like a couple tens of meters down. That's when you hit rock. Otherwise, at the moment, it's ash.
Yeah, there's one in New Zealand as well, isn't it?
Yep, there is one in New Zealand, but I don't think that's active, but it isn't one of the big threatening ones. It will take out.
I thought that the one in New Zealand is one of the super volcanoes.
Super volcanoes? tell you now. So, yep, Yellowstone caldera. That's number one.
Mm.
La. There's La Garita caldera in Colorado. Long Valley caldera, which is another La Garita. Lake Toba, which is in Indonesia. Valles caldera, which is in Mexico. Ira caldera, which is in Japan. Which is that big one from the big one with the snowy tip, if you know that one.
Mm.
Cerro Caldera, which is in Bolivia. Galan, Argentina. Taupo, which is New Zealand. And Lake Taupo is number 2.
Mm.
It goes Yellowstone, Lake Taupo, Guacha, La Garita, Long Valley, Toba, Aroni, Galan, Ira, and then Valles. But yeah, my bad. Like Taupo is a
Big one.
It's yeah, scientifically it is the bomb. It will take out pretty much all of Oceania, and it will leave a dent in the ocean floor.
Yeah,
that's how big it is. The other currently super volcanoes that are active aren't going to be making any dent besides the explosion that comes with. Lake Taupo will be all the way down to the ocean bed.
Yeah. As you
God
look back,
damn, those hobbits are lucky.
Yeah. Think of like, Mount Vesuvius when that went.
Oh, God.
It was, just Pompeii, and I think there was another city as well. I can't remember the name of it.
I love Pompeii.
Something to do with Hercules, I think, the other name of the other city, because it was 2 cities. But it's only ever Pompeii people talk about. But there was another city as well. It was Herc something. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, there were 2 cities. But you think of the size, I'm not sure the size of it, but that was pretty damaging one. But that only took out that area. It didn't take out like the whole of Italy or anything else, did it? So
yeah, the size of the volcano is 12.42 kilometers. That's how big the volcano actually is compared to Sorrento, the neighboring city, because Pompeii is part of the volcano. The volcano stretches the entire land of Pompeii. And Sorrento is the other volcano that you're on about.
No, there was another city close to Pompeii that got buried as well. I'll have to look it up. There was another city. It wasn't just Pompeii. There were 2 cities, I'm sure. Let's have a look.
Here we go.
Oh, there were 4 cities and some other settlements, but it's only ever Pompeii as well. But I guess that was the biggest one.
Pompeii and Herculaneum were the main 2.
That's what I was thinking of. But yeah, there were 2 others as well. And
what about tsunamis and tornadoes?
That was loads. Have you seen as well? There's so we talk about obviously dinosaurs and the asteroid. There is another area thought that it wasn't an asteroid, but it was a series of volcanoes that wiped out.
I actually that I like that, but there's it's a lot harder to prove it was a series of chain reaction volcanoes, because it would be those volcanoes would somewhat still either be here today, or there would be parts of that volcano in the vicinities or around the world. Hell, the world still doesn't know if what Pangea. That's when the whole world was one, wasn't it? Pangea, all of the land masses.
Yeah.
That's still being thought about today. Was Pangea a full continent of dinosaurs at different ages, or was Pangea still separating? and it was actually slow over time to this day and age. I generally think Pangea was prime planet Earth as well, because the whole continent just thrived. There was deserts, there were snow biomes, there were moss and swamps, there were greenlands, mountains, and it was all interconnected. Water could travel for thousands and thousands of kilometers. You don't get that this day and age. There is no river that stretches across the entire world.
No, they can't, because there's too much in between all the land masses now. But how much in the future do you think the land masses are going to change moving forward? Because obviously the tectonic plates are always moving, the land masses are always moving. Yeah. So what is going to happen? Are they going to reform in a different shape? Are some of them disappear?
I'd say there's no wipeout of the human race and the Earth. If the tectonic plates keep moving, I generally think Asia will connect to America. There would be a collide which could kill hundreds of thousands, but it
won't necessarily, because it's such a slow thing that it'll.
Yeah, I'm just saying that when it does happen, it will be a ban. It will be a big collide between two continents and two separate land masses finally meeting again.
Yeah.
And we will have North America, South America, Asia, Africa, and Europe all as one big continent once again. And I wouldn't be surprised if Oceania, I say Oceania, but I mean Indonesia joined that.
What should happen in the next 50 million years, North America is predicted to shift west and Eurasia east, and possibly even to the south, bringing Great Britain close to the North Pole and Siberia southwards towards warm subtropical latitudes. We're going to get cold.
Yeah, great. Like we're already not cold.
Fine, I don't like the heat anyway, so cold's fine.
Yeah, I agreed. I'm happy.
I like Canada so much. Snow is lovely.
Get me with a hot chocolate or cup of tea wrapped up in a blanket. Yes, please.
Yeah. Definitely can't.
I don't want to be walking around topless, knowing that I can still burn.
No,
I'm all right.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to top on, as we've got 15-20 minutes left?
No, whatever you want to. It's, we're just kind of, I'm following your lead and whatever you want to talk about.
There is one big thing that I want to finish off today's podcast episode.
Okay.
It takes on natural disaster films.
Oh, God. Ones with or without The Rock?
Let's go all of them. Every single film from the day after tomorrow. Let's go the actual film Pompeii. Then you've got, Pompeii isn't world ending. Armageddon. You've got San Andreas, The Rock mentioned, Geostorm, Greenland, all these big destructive films. Do you think it's over-exaggerated?
There's loads.
2012 is a great one, in my opinion. That's what I was about to say. Would it be that 90% are over-exaggerative, or is it as accurate as it could get?
Nowhere near accurate. Look at
nowhere near.
The day after tomorrow, with that super freezing and people just like frozen icicles. No, don't think
impossible.
So.
It's impossible.
That was just so stupid. It's like watching bloody Jason Voorhees in space freezing people's heads and smashing them with dry ice. It's like, no, that doesn't happen with like storms. It's not that. No, that was taking it to the extreme.
Extreme.
Well, that's what they have to do in it for all of these end of the world things. It needs to be the most extreme possible. It's like Armageddon. What a stupid movie. It's easier to train like people to use drills. Easier to train them to be astronauts than it is to train astronauts who are highly intelligent. Engineers and so on, they can't be taught to use a couple of drills. You'd rather teach some no-hopers to be astronauts. Well, I suppose you can now. Katy Perry's an astronaut, so anyone could be an astronaut. So maybe that is easier.
I love you, Katy Perry. Good music, but come on. She generally thought she changed the world some way.
I'm now a deep sea diver.
Oh, look at this. I climbed a hill. I am now a mountain climber. Bro.
Yeah, but that's the trouble with stuff like that. And Armageddon is so stupid. It's like there's this big asteroid, and it's always the thing that annoys me about all of these things. It's always America. And
yeah, I know.
There's this asteroid coming. America needs to deal with this. Bullshit. They wouldn't get off their arse and do that. They'd be all arguing about it. Oh, it's not going to hit America. We're going to be fine. And I love the way these asteroids. Like they're always aiming at cities. Are these asteroids like intelligent? It always goes New York, London. How? Most of the planet is water. Most of these things would land in water. Not to mention they'd have to get past all our satellites and the moon, the other planets. Then it's not going to happen.
And then you have the likes of the sun, which is probably going to pull it harder than the planets because of the magnetic pull. It's just with you saying that the world is mostly water, which it is. Newsflash. That's ripple effect, quite literally as well. Most people think if it hits water, it's done. The world's just going to explode.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, because it'll deaden it. But the trouble is, it's then the shock waves and the tidal waves and the tsunamis caused from those ripples. The ripples go out. You look at water, you drop something in water, the ripples go out. They take a while to dissipate. And depending where it is and how impactful it is, that could cause global issues. It's not going to destroy the planet necessarily.
This is what I'm on about, because when I remember speaking to someone years ago about if an asteroid hits dead center in the deepest part of the ocean in the Mariana Trench. This person, I won't mention them, but this person because it's the deepest part in the world, it will give the world enough time to stop the asteroid. Probably
how deep it is.
I replied, yes, your thought is probably right, because the burning of a boulder sized asteroid will probably turn it into a pebble by the time it reaches the ocean tip. But if it's a very, very big size, Mariana Trench is probably not even number one on the list that can stop.
It doesn't even, none of that matters. It's not about the depth of it, because the water will stop something. You look at bullets, you shoot a bullet into water, it stops. It doesn't carry on going and kill people in water. Bullets stop. Water is tremendous at dissipating pressures and so on. You throw something into water and it stops. Shoot a bullet into water, it'll stop. And I've seen Mythbusters and loads of other people have done it with the biggest and best bullets in the world, and it only goes goes hardly any distance. That's going to be similar. It doesn't matter how deep it is. All it matters is the size of the object, the speed of the object when it hits, and also the shape of the object. If it's a round ball or something flat, it's going to hit on a large surface area. If it's pointy, it's going to pierce it more, and it's not going to have such an impact on the water, so you're not going to get such a ripple. The worst thing could be is a big flat object hitting with the biggest surface area possible. It's going to slam, massive wave. If it's really pointy, it's going to go in. It'll still cause ripples, but because it'll break the surface of the water, because that's the thing, it's the surface tension. You smash against that with enough force, and that's going to be dreadful. It doesn't matter how deep. It's never going to get that deep.
I then shut this person up by saying, if the same asteroid that killed the dinosaurs hit planet Earth today and hit dead ass in the water, not only will it send a big goddamn mushroom cloud in the sky and burn everything in its path.
No, why would it send... Why?
Hang on. I'll go back. I'm using it as an example, mate. But it will also burn everything in its radius, pushing the water out in tsunamis. Then if it hits the planet's bed from touching the water and hits the Earth, it will send a big shake into the ground, which could affect the tectonic plates. And then the tectonic plates could affect volcanoes.
But none of that would happen, though.
I know, but that's what I use as an example, like a hypothetical. And my teacher ended up correcting both of us, my geography teacher. If the same asteroid that killed the dinosaurs hit center of the biggest part of our ocean, the worst you're going to get will be half the planet's dead. You're going to get fire ash, you're going to get the ripples out of the tsunamis, and it's going to be more than one. And then the worst case you'll get is that there's that big of an earthquake. The furthest volcano will be tickled, but the closest volcano will erupt because it's pushing all of the force up because of the energy. That, boys, is how the world ends.
But once again, there wouldn't be a massive fireball because of the water. No. The impact, it would vaporize the water, but it wouldn't do that much else. It'd be water vaporization, which would put a lot of water vapor in the air. You would get potential of a tsunami, but it wouldn't necessarily be that big just because the sheer amount of water there. It would not have to be such a ridiculous impact. But once again, as I said, water is good at taking impacts. You know, it's what water does. It'll deaden almost anything. It's not going to go past the water and hit anything below it. That's just not going to happen.
Then
the asteroid will be broken up. There will be heat. There will be a flash. There will be, I said, it will be a certain amount of waves depending on the size of the object, but I don't think it's going to be enough to kind of drown the entire world. There'll be a lot of water vapor going up into the sky from the explosion.
Obviously, it's a lot different. Yeah. The case can be a lot different if that same asteroid that killed us, presumably killed the dinosaurs, is a little bit closer to land than it would be center of the ocean. It could be a whole different kettle of fish. Do you agree or disagree there?
It all depends what it hits. It's not. The only thing is, if it's closer to land, then you've got more potential for a wave to engulf the land. That's really about all it'll be. I know you might have some problems with like the heat from the water vapor, but it's water vapor. Once it's vapor, it's vapor. You know, it's not like it can be superheated rain or something, is it? Because that's not what rain is. You know, so you're not going to have to worry about that. It is purely the size of the wave created by the impact, and if that'll affect it. But that's really about it.
Ultimately, I generally think that we're going to kill our planet before the planet ends up saying goodbye to us, because humans are giving humans headaches. And with the possibility of all of these articles from NASA saying, an asteroid is about 15,000 light years away, but it's heading towards Earth and it could move direction. Just say an asteroid could potentially hit Earth, but it's unlikely because it could go a different direction instead of milking it. Because that's trying to get people to worry and spread their news no pun intended, like a wildfire.
This is exactly why I don't watch the news. Because the news is there just to scare people. That's all it's for. It's to control people and scare them. You have a look, especially in America, it's even worse at the moment with all the Trump nonsense. That's what they do. And they're like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You look at COVID. So the one thing they told everybody, and they always do, all the shops are going to run out of toilet roll. Do you know why the shops are going to run out of toilet roll? Because you've told them there's going to be a shortage. So everyone goes and buys the thing you tell them there's going to be a shortage, thus creating the shortage. If the news didn't tell people stock up on toilet roll because they're going to run out, there wouldn't have been an issue. 100% there wouldn't have been. I had COVID, and the last thing I needed was toilet roll. I wasn't eating. I wasn't using the toilet. I didn't need toilet roll. So why did everyone stock up on it?
Neither. I didn't need toilet roll during COVID. Hell, no. I don't even think my household, I don't even think we ran out of food.
No, nobody did. Because they're just scaring you into buying stuff because they'll get a cut of it. And it just winds me up. Everything is always the same. And no doubt this year is going to be the killer bees, the killer wasps, the massive spiders we're getting from Africa. And there's always some nonsense like that on the news to make people scared and to control people. And that's all they ever do. And it just does my head in. And none of it is real news. Can't they have some real news stories like, the skateboarding, like squirrels or something? That's the news we want to watch. Not got to do this or everyone's going to die. Because they're not. Let's have some nice news. Nice things about good things that happen and the good things people do. It's not all doom and gloom and people killing each other and we're running out of this and this is awful and these people are having to go with them. What about the nice stories? About those teenagers that helped the little old lady with her shopping and carried it home for her and put it in her cupboards. And and all that kind of thing that goes on in the world every day that we don't hear about. That's what we need more of. Not all this doom and gloom, everything is the end, and if this is cursed, that is cursed, everything is cursed. No, it's not. There's some nice people out there. Focus on that. That's what we need in this world. Focus on the positives, not just the negatives. Like you look at, history, when I was growing up and so on, there's a lot more now in the news about murders and everything else because it sells newspapers or it sells time on web pages or watch time on YouTube because it's sensationalism. The world hasn't changed that much. It hasn't got that much worse and people haven't become much worse. It's just they tell you about it a lot more. And we don't need that.
No.
We don't need that.
Which is another representation of I was saying at the beginning that we're our own virus.
Yeah.
We're the planet's virus.
We are the biggest problem in the world. No other animals destroy their own habitat for no reason.
Nope.
No other creature.
That's something that I want to quickly say. The Brazilian rainforest and that jungle. There was no, not a photo. You can have a look on Google Maps. If you go back 2000, 40% of the forest was there. Now there's less than exactly 40% less rainforest than there was in 2000.
We haven't been into those areas to find out what's there. We could be losing out on medicine and everything. There was a film many years ago, Sean Connery movie called Medicine Man.
Medicine Man.
They found a cure for cancer and they lost it. They thought it was like these berries or something. It wasn't. It was the little bugs that were on the berries at the time when they tested it, and they couldn't find it because they destroyed half the rainforest. This is what we're doing. The world has enough around us, and it takes us a long time to find different cures for different things. And sometimes we're causing a lot of the cancers and so on because the stuff we're doing to our planet, the stuff we're doing to our bodies, the stuff we're doing to, everything around us is causing that. There's got to be a way to counteract that, but it's going to be in nature somewhere. We can't just create it out of nothing. It's got to be based on something. And there's so much there we're destroying, and animals going extinct. That's the next part. Those dire wolves that they've brought back from the dead. They haven't really. They've just got wolves that look a little bit like it. But that's only one step away from Jurassic Park. Is that a good idea? There's been many, many movies to tell us how such a bad idea that is, and yet people will do it given half the chance because people are idiots.
The thing is, I saw someone say on Instagram that if with all these Jurassic Park and Jurassic World films and knockoff films doing the same thing, if dinosaurs come back and become tourist attractions, knowing what happened in the films, they'll still go.
Yeah.
I would. And as soon as it happens, I'll tell myself in the mirror, you knew this was going to happen, and you still came.
Yeah, but you'll be one of the first people in those little ball things they had in the newer movies. Let's be honest. You'd be straight in one of those going in between the dinosaurs. Oh, look at those. And the giant Zorb. Like, nah, that's crazy. People just will. As I said, the movie, they realized they could do something, but they didn't stop long enough to realize if they should. They just went ahead and did it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
And guess what the drive is? Greed and money.
It always is.
Mm-hmm. That's why the forest is going. That's why the coral reef is being exposed a lot more.
Money makes the world go around.
Exactly. And it's sad to see that. It really is. But it's always been like that. And it always will be.
Yep, unfortunately, until there's something else that we have instead of money. But there's not going to be a replacement. You look at Star Trek where they got rid of money, but they haven't really, because it gets introduced later on in the series when they interact with other species that still use money. So there's still money. I can't imagine a way to get rid of it, because people won't do a job unless they're getting something for it. And if everyone had all the same stuff, nobody would want to do crap jobs. Most people wouldn't want to work. They wouldn't want to clean toilets or something, would they? Let's be honest. You know, if you get the same pay for cleaning toilets as you are doing something else, you want to do something else, wouldn't you? So,
hell, you wouldn't see a person going into a factory just to get like minimum pay.
Yeah.
Sewing or using a sewing machine.
You wouldn't using heavy machinery where you could lose your limbs. You know, that'd be the worst thing.
Going into the mines. You would never see that. It's just they're forced to do it. They have to do it. You wouldn't see people willy-nilly do it.
That reminds me of something I saw the other day. It must have been on like Instagram or something. And it was on about like, all these kids love Minecraft. See, they yearn for the mines. We should let the kids back in the mines again like they used to.
Oh my god. I can just picture it, how fucked it would be, but how funny it would be.
But you know, these kids love Minecraft. They love mining. They miss the mines. They need to work in the mines again. It's like, oh my god, somebody had to, didn't they? Oh god, people.
Anyways, mate, our hour has come to an end.
It has indeed.
Well, I've enjoyed this topic of conversation. Have you?
Oh, it's always good. That's the thing. That's the good thing about this kind of format is, you can just talk for hours about any old subject, because we've known each other long enough now that we can talk about anything and kind of, you know, gauge if it goes too far and then push it that a bit further just because we can, because, you know, that's who we are. And that's what makes it interesting. We can talk about anything. And I think it's quite good. So the hard part is thinking up something that will be worthwhile talking about long enough without having to go to different topics within that, if you know what I mean, because we tend to go off tangents quite easily, as we did again today. Partially my fault, I guess, but yeah, that's what we do. But it's always good to find different perspectives on things, isn't it?
Agreed. And I couldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yep, definitely.
Either way, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on YouTube at The Welsh Assassin and on Twitch at The Welsh Assassin 998.
And you can find me on YouTube on Wasn't My Fault, or on Twitch under Nukami.
Until next week, thank you for tuning in, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.